Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. These words, written nearly 2,000 years ago by Marcus Aurelius, feel as urgent and relevant today as they did during his reign as Emperor of Rome. But why? Why do the teachings of a Stoic philosopher, penned amidst the chaos of ruling an empire, still resonate so deeply in our modern world? Perhaps it's because we, too, wrestle with the same timeless questions. How do we find purpose? How do we live with conviction even when life feels uncertain? In this video, we'll explore key lessons from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations lessons that not only guided him through the pressures of leadership and personal challenges, but also hold the power to help us cultivate lives grounded in intention, resilience, and meaning. Together, let's uncover how this ancient wisdom can provide clarity and direction in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming. How often do we pause and ask if our actions truly reflect our values? It's a simple question, yet one we rarely stop to consider in the rush of everyday life. Marcus Aurelius believed that living with purpose begins by grounding ourselves in our core principles, those unshakable values that define who we are and who we want to be. But he didn't stop at just thinking about values. For Marcus, integrity wasn't about lofty speeches or abstract ideals. It was about action. He urged through his writings that we must embody our values in the choices we make every single day. One of his most well-known quotes speaks directly to this. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." In those few words, Marcus reminds us that while life might throw challenges, distractions, and chaos our way, we always have control over our own responses. That control, that agency, is where alignment with our values begins. If we recognize this, we can act with intention, choosing actions that reflect kindness, honesty, courage, or whatever principles matter most to us. Think about this in practical terms. Imagine you value honesty, deeply believing that truth builds trust and strong relationships. Yet, in a tough situation, maybe at work or with friends, you find yourself tempted to bend the truth, thinking it might be easier to avoid conflict. In that moment, you're faced with a critical choice. Do you take the easier path and compromise your values, or do you stand by your principle of honesty, even if it feels uncomfortable? Marcus would argue that staying true to your values, even when it's difficult, is what strengthens your character and leads to a purposeful life. Or consider kindness. Let's say you view yourself as someone who values compassion, but when someone cuts you off in traffic or snaps at you in line, your first instinct is annoyance or anger. In those brief moments, it's easy to lose sight of your principles. However, Stoicism challenges us to pause, take a step back, and consciously decide to act in alignment with the person we wish to be. Maybe that means responding with patience instead of frustration, or offering a small act of kindness instead of escalating negativity. These moments might seem insignificant, but it's often in life's ordinary choices where we reveal who we truly are. Marcus Aurelius believed that it's through small, consistent actions that we grow into the people we aspire to be. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Each decision, no matter how minor, can either bring us closer to or further from our values. Over time, these choices shape our character and define the legacy we leave behind. So, here's a question to reflect on. Do your daily actions align with the person you wish to become? If you say you value integrity, are you acting with honesty, even in private moments when nobody's watching? If you believe in generosity, are you finding ways to give, not just money or things, but your time, attention, and understanding? It's not always easy, and we won't always get it right. But the beauty of Marcus's philosophy is that every moment offers a new opportunity to reset, to choose again, and to realign our actions with our values. By staying mindful of this connection between values and actions, we tap into a deep well of inner strength. No matter what challenges or external events we face, we can find peace in knowing that we're living with integrity, true to ourselves. And perhaps this, above all else, is the foundation of living with purpose. Life is fleeting, and that's exactly why it matters. This is one of the most profound lessons Marcus Aurelius offers us in his Meditations. He constantly reflected on the transient nature of life, not to dwell in fear or sadness, but to sharpen his focus and live with greater purpose. For Marcus, the concept of Memento Mori or remember you must die wasn't morbid. It was energizing. By acknowledging the limited time we have, we're reminded to make the most of it, to focus on what truly matters and let go of what doesn't. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think, Marcus wrote. It's a bold and sobering reminder that nothing is promised, not even tomorrow. And yet, how often do we move through our days as though time is infinite? How often do we fixate on minor annoyances, petty arguments, or endless distractions, forgetting that each moment we waste is one we'll never get back? Marcus calls us to wake up to this reality, to see the preciousness of life not as something to fear, but as motivation to live fully and intentionally. Think about this in practical terms. What if you truly embraced the idea that life is impermanent? What would change? Perhaps you'd stop procrastinating on the dreams you've been putting off, realizing there's no guarantee of someday. Maybe you'd spend more time with loved ones, appreciating the time you have together instead of letting it slip by unnoticed. Or maybe you'd finally let go of the grudges and resentments that weigh you down, understanding that life is too short to spend it clinging to negativity. This doesn't mean living recklessly or trying to squeeze every last drop of pleasure out of life. For the Stoics, it's not about indulgence but clarity. When we reflect on our mortality, we gain a sharper perspective on what's truly important. It helps us prioritize the essential and dismiss the trivial. Marcus himself used this mindset to stay focused amidst the challenges of ruling an empire. He didn't waste time dwelling on insults or petty conflicts. Instead, he kept his attention on what he could control: his actions, his words, and the legacy he wanted to leave. Take the endless pursuit of material possessions or status, for example. In the grand scheme of things, how much do these really matter? When we remind ourselves of life's brevity, we see the futility in chasing things that don't bring lasting fulfillment. Instead, we're inspired to invest our energy in relationships, meaningful work, and personal growth. Things that truly enrich our lives and leave a positive impact on others. In today's world, with its constant noise and distractions, reflecting on mortality might feel uncomfortable, something we'd rather avoid. But what if, instead of avoiding it, we used it as a tool to refocus? What if every time we felt overwhelmed by emails, social media, or endless to-do lists, we paused and asked ourselves, does this really matter in the grand scheme of things? Chances are most of it doesn't. And once we let go of those trivial concerns, we create more room for what does matter: time with loved ones, doing work that fulfills us, and cultivating moments of joy, connection, and peace. So let me ask you, what would you do differently if you fully embraced the reality of life's impermanence? Would you prioritize more boldly? Would you approach each day with more gratitude and less fear? Would you treat others with greater kindness, knowing that our time together is finite? The truth is, none of us knows how much time we have left, but by reflecting on this fact, as Marcus Aurelius did, we can learn to live with more purpose, clarity, and urgency. Because in the end, it's not the length of our lives that matters, it's how we choose to live them. Have you ever found yourself stuck in traffic, frustrated and fuming as the minutes tick by? Or maybe you've spent hours replaying a conversation in your head, agonizing over someone else's opinion of you. These moments are all too familiar, and yet they highlight a profound truth about human nature. We often invest an incredible amount of energy in things we simply cannot control. But what if we could let go of that frustration and focus instead on what's actually within our power? Marcus Aurelius offers us a profound insight. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This distinction between what is within our control and what is not lies at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, as ruler of one of the most powerful empires in history, understood the importance of mastering this concept. Despite his immense authority, he knew he had no control over the unpredictable tides of politics, the harshness of Roman winters, or the inevitable judgments of others. What he could control, however, was his own mind, his thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Mastering this internal domain allowed him to lead with purpose and clarity amidst the chaos of his external world. Let's break this down. What exactly is within our control? It's surprisingly simple: our choices, our reactions, and the way we interpret events. Everything else, other people's actions, the outcome of our efforts, or random events like being caught in traffic, is beyond us. Stoicism teaches us that when we pour our energy into things we cannot influence, we not only set ourselves up for frustration, but also lose sight of where our real power lies. Imagine someone criticized you unfairly at work. While it's natural to feel hurt or defensive, Stoic thinking encourages us to pause and ask, can I control their opinion? Of course not, but what is within your power is how you respond. Instead of stewing in resentment or arguing endlessly to prove a point, you could choose to focus on your own actions, maybe by reflecting on whether the criticism offers any value or by calmly addressing the matter if needed. By prioritizing your response over the uncontrollable opinions of others, you reclaim your energy and maintain your peace of mind. This shift in focus doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill that requires practice. One way to cultivate this mindset is through mindfulness. When faced with a challenging situation, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, is this something I can control? If it's not, let it go. Redirect your energy toward what you can influence, whether that's your attitude, your preparation, or simply moving forward without getting bogged down by anger or worry. Journaling can also be a powerful tool. Marcus Aurelius himself used writing as a way to reflect, process, and refine his thoughts. At the end of each day, you can ask yourself, where did I waste energy on things I couldn't control today? How can I approach similar situations differently tomorrow? Over time, this practice not only strengthens your ability to let go of the uncontrollable, but also deepens your understanding of what truly deserves your attention. Now take a moment to reflect. How much time and energy do you spend worrying about things outside of your control? Whether it's the weather, the stock market, or someone else's behavior, how often do these uncontrollable events dictate your mood or actions? Imagine what life could look like if, instead of fighting battles you can't win, you redirected that energy toward your own growth, resilience, and purpose. This is the strength Marcus Aurelius spoke of, a strength that comes from within, one that no external event can take away. And the more we embrace this perspective, the closer we come to living a life of greater clarity, focus, and meaning. How often do we find ourselves trapped in the endless loop of replaying the past or worrying about the future? Maybe it's rehashing an embarrassing moment that happened weeks ago, or spiraling over what might happen tomorrow, next week, or even next year. These thoughts pull us in every direction except the one that truly matters, right here, right now. Marcus Aurelius understood this all too well. he advised, confine yourself to the present, reminding us that the present moment is the only place where life actually happens. It's in the here and now that we find the clarity, focus, and peace we need to live with purpose. So why do we so easily lose touch with the present? Part of it is human nature. Our brains are wired to analyze what's already happened and anticipate what's to come. It's a survival mechanism. But in today's fast-paced, distraction-filled world, this tendency to dwell on the past or obsess over the future has grown overwhelming. The result, we spend our days scattered and anxious, constantly chasing things outside of our immediate control. And in doing so, we miss the beauty and opportunity right in front of us. Marcus Aurelius believed that living in the present wasn't just about finding peace, it was about living fully. When we focus too much on the past, we risk becoming stuck, paralyzed by regrets, or consumed by what we can no longer change. On the flip side, when we fixate on the future, we get lost in a world of what-ifs, worrying over things that haven't even happened yet. But when we anchor ourselves in the present, we can break free of this cycle. We make better decisions, connect more deeply with others, and truly experience the richness of life. Think about it. How many meaningful moments have passed you by because your mind was somewhere else? Maybe you were with loved ones but too distracted by your phone to really listen. Or maybe you were so worried about a meeting tomorrow that you couldn't fully enjoy today. These small, everyday moments might seem insignificant, but they're the fabric of our lives, the things we'll one day look back on and wish we'd appreciated more. The good news is that present-mindedness isn't some mystical skill reserved for philosophers. It's something we can all practice starting right now. One way to bring yourself back to the now is through mindful breathing. Simply take a moment to focus on your breath, the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. This simple act can calm your mind and help you reset, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or distracted. Another powerful practice is gratitude. Take a moment each day to reflect on a few things you're grateful for, not the big, obvious milestones, but the little things you might otherwise overlook. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of laughter, or the taste of your morning coffee. By recognizing these small joys, you train yourself to pay attention to the present and appreciate the gifts that each moment offers. Living in the present doesn't mean we ignore the past or stop planning for the future. It's about finding balance, learning from what's behind us, setting intentions for what's ahead, but staying grounded in what we can do right now. After all, the present is the only moment where we have any real influence. It's the place where life happens, where choices are made, and where change begins. So, let me ask you this: what can you do today to fully embrace the present moment? Maybe it's putting down your phone during dinner, taking a quiet walk to reconnect with yourself, or simply pausing to savor the simple pleasures around you. Whatever it is, take that step, because when we truly live in the moment, we honor the life we've been given, not by dwelling on what's already past or worrying about what's yet to come, but by making the most of the time we have right here, right now. Picture this: you've poured your heart and soul into a project, weeks, maybe months of effort, only to have it fall apart. The promotion you worked tirelessly for goes to someone else. A relationship you valued ends unexpectedly. Moments like these can leave us feeling discouraged, even defeated. But what if we flipped the script? What if, instead of viewing setbacks as barriers, we began to see them as opportunities? Marcus Aurelius offers a powerful perspective on this when he writes, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This Stoic principle is a reminder that every obstacle we face has the potential to shape us for the better. For Marcus, challenges weren't just things to endure, they were essential to our growth. He believed that adversity isn't something that happens *to*us, but something that happens *for* us. It's a radical mindset shift. Rather than resisting life's difficulties, we can learn to welcome them as opportunities to develop resilience, courage, and strength of character. Think of it this way, just like muscles grow stronger through resistance, our character is forged by the trials we endure. When we encounter setbacks, we're given a chance to practice essential virtues like patience, perseverance, and adaptability. Take the disappointment of a failed project, for example. Sure, it's easy to feel frustrated or even question your abilities, but if you dig deeper, what lessons can you uncover? Maybe you learn to approach problems from a different angle, or maybe you develop the humility to seek advice and collaborate with others. These lessons, though born from difficulty, prepare you for future challenges in ways success alone never could. Marcus Aurelius didn't just philosophize about this idea, he lived it. As Emperor of Rome, his reign was riddled with challenges, wars, political betrayals, and even a devastating plague. Any one of these crises could have been overwhelming, but instead of succumbing to despair, Marcus used them as opportunities to grow in wisdom and leadership. When faced with a seemingly insurmountable obstacle, he didn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, he asked, "How can I use this to become better?" This mindset isn't just reserved for emperors. We can apply it in our own lives by practicing reframing, looking at challenges not as punishments or failures, but as stepping stones for growth. For instance, imagine you've been overlooked for an opportunity you deeply wanted. Rather than dwelling on the perceived loss, you could ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Could it be a chance to refine your skills or explore a new path you hadn't considered? Reframing isn't about ignoring the difficulty of the situation. It's about choosing to focus on what you can gain from it. Another practical way to cultivate resilience through adversity is by viewing challenges as exercises for the virtues you want to strengthen. If you're dealing with a difficult colleague, for example, see it as an opportunity to practice patience and empathy. If you're facing financial setbacks, perhaps it's a chance to cultivate resourcefulness and gratitude for what you do have. Each struggle, no matter how small or large, is an invitation to grow stronger and wiser. So, how can you take the challenges you're facing right now and turn them into stepping stones? What virtues could you practice in the midst of them? Maybe it's using a failure as an opportunity to build humility and persistence. Maybe it's transforming a moment of frustration into a chance to practice acceptance or courage. The truth is, life will always present us with obstacles, but as Marcus Aurelius teaches, it's not the obstacle itself that defines us, it's how we choose to respond. Will you let it stop you, or will you use it to advance forward, to become the type of person who can face life's uncertainties with strength and purpose? The choice is always yours. Are we pursuing our goals or just the applause that comes with them? It's a tough question, but one worth asking. In a world where likes, shares, and external accolades often feel like the ultimate measure of success, it's easy to lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing in the first place. Marcus Aurelius cautioned against this mindset when he wrote, "The approval of others is a poor prize to strive for. Recognition," he believed, "is fleeting and unreliable." If our sense of purpose is tied to external validation, it's like building our foundation on shifting sands, fragile and easily swept away. The Stoics viewed true fulfillment as something that comes from within, rooted in the intrinsic value of our actions rather than the fleeting rewards of recognition or praise. But what does that really mean? Think about a time when you worked hard on something, maybe a personal project, a presentation at work, or even a creative hobby. Now ask yourself, were you motivated by the satisfaction of doing the work itself, or by the hope that others would notice and applaud your efforts? The difference may seem subtle, but it's profound. When our sense of purpose depends on how others react, we hand over control of our happiness to forces beyond ourselves. but when we focus on doing meaningful work for its own sake, we reclaim that control. Take the example of an artist. If they paint to impress others, their sense of achievement will always be tied to external feedback, what critics say, how many people like their work, or whether their painting sells. But if they paint because creating art brings them joy or allows them to explore their unique perspective, then the act of painting itself becomes the reward. The opinions of others may come and go, but the deeper sense of purpose remains steady. This mindset applies well beyond creative endeavors. Think about the professional world, where recognition often takes the form of promotions, awards, or praise from colleagues. While these things can be gratifying, they're not always within our control. Offices are political, feedback is subjective, and not every great effort is publicly acknowledged. Living by Stoic principles means focusing not on whether your work is celebrated, but on whether you've done it with integrity and effort. Marcus Aurelius himself lived this truth. As Emperor of Rome, he could have been consumed by the need to win favor from those around him. Yet his writings reveal that he constantly reminded himself to prioritize his duty over public approval, knowing that genuine purpose comes not from applause but from doing what is right. Let's go deeper. How would your life change if you stopped seeking approval from others? What if, instead of chasing validation, you measured success by your own standards, by whether you gave your best effort, acted according to your values, or made a meaningful contribution? For one thing, you'd likely experience less stress and self-doubt, no longer worrying about whether you're living up to someone else's expectations. You'd also free up mental energy to focus entirely on what matters to you, rather than being distracted by trying to please an audience. This isn't to say recognition is inherently bad. It's natural to feel good when others appreciate your work. It's part of being human. But Stoicism teaches us to avoid letting that become the driving force behind our actions. Validation from others is unpredictable and often fleeting. Finding purpose within, on the other hand, creates lasting fulfillment. It allows us to build a life that's resilient and deeply meaningful, even when the applause fades or never comes at all. So here's something to think about. Are there areas of your life where you're overly focused on external approval? And if you shifted your mindset to focus on intrinsic motivation, how much freer and more purposeful could your life become? By practicing detachment from recognition and praise, we unlock the ability to live authentically, guided by our own principles rather than the shifting opinions of others. That, as the Stoics might say, is a prize truly worth striving for. True fulfillment often comes from helping others. It's a simple idea, yet one with profound implications. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply, reminding us in his Meditations what is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. This metaphor highlights a truth that's easy to forget in the pursuit of personal goals. We are all interconnected. Just as a bee thrives when its hive thrives, we, too, find our greatest sense of purpose when we contribute to something larger than ourselves. Whether that's our family, our community, or the world at large, living for the greater good brings meaning that purely self-centered pursuits often cannot. Let's start with teamwork. Think about a successful team, whether in sports, at work, or even among friends. What makes it thrive? Is it one person striving to outshine everyone else? Hardly. Success comes when each individual commits to the collective goal, bringing their unique strengths while supporting others. Marcus Aurelius's insight reminds us that by helping those around us succeed, we actually create an environment where everyone benefits, including ourselves. Imagine a workplace where co-workers are constantly in competition, jealous of each other's achievements, or withholding help to get ahead. Now contrast that with a workplace where people actively collaborate, share credit, and celebrate one another's wins. Which one has a stronger hive, so to speak? Which one fosters more long-term success and fulfillment? This idea extends well beyond teams. Community service is another powerful way to live in alignment with Marcus's wisdom. When we give our time or resources to help others, whether by volunteering at a shelter, mentoring someone in need, or organizing a neighborhood cleanup, we aren't just improving the lives of others. We're also enriching our own sense of purpose. Studies have even shown that acts of kindness can reduce stress, increase happiness, and improve overall well-being. Why? Because when we focus on lifting others up, we step out of our own worries and connect with something bigger, whether that's a cause, a shared mission, or simply the bond of human kindness. Then there's the global perspective, environmental stewardship. This is perhaps one of the most urgent and tangible ways to serve the greater good. Our planet is, in a way, the ultimate hive, a home we all share and depend on. Whether it's reducing waste, conserving resources, or advocating for change, every effort we make to protect the environment reflects an awareness that our individual actions impact the whole. And by caring for the planet, we're not just serving others in the present, we're paving the way for future generations to thrive. So, how can you apply this lesson to your own life? Start by asking yourself, what strengths do I have and how can I use them to benefit others? Maybe you're a great listener and you can offer support to someone who's struggling. Maybe you're skilled at organizing and you could help coordinate a fundraiser for a cause you care about. Or maybe you have a passion for teaching and you could mentor someone in your field. Big or small, every contribution counts. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, when we act in a way that benefits the hive, we create a ripple effect that strengthens not only the people around us but also ourselves. Here's something to reflect on. What would the world look like if each of us focused just a little more on serving the greater good? How much stronger would our communities, our workplaces, and our planet become if we approached life with the mindset of the bee, always asking, how can I contribute to the whole? The truth is, by serving others, we find a deeper sense of fulfillment, one that no personal achievement can rival. Because in lifting others, we elevate ourselves, and in strengthening the hive, we ensure that we, too, can thrive. What is holding you back from living the life you want? Is it procrastination, distractions, fear of failure, or perhaps the allure of comfort over challenge? For many of us, the gap between who we are and who we want to become is filled with habits, choices, and behaviors that pull us away from our purpose. Marcus Aurelius offers a timeless piece of advice for navigating this. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. At first glance, this might seem like a simple call for integrity, but it's also a blueprint for self-discipline, a reminder that purpose is built on a foundation of deliberate, consistent choices. Discipline, in the Stoic sense, isn't about denying yourself or living a life of harsh restriction. Instead, it's about aligning your actions with your values and resisting the temptations that steer you off course. Marcus understood that living a purposeful life requires us to rein in impulses and distractions, focusing instead on what truly matters. The paradox is this: while discipline might feel like a limitation at first, it's actually the path to the greatest freedom. It frees us from the chaos of aimlessness, from being controlled by fleeting desires, and from the regret of wasted time. Think of it this way: every small decision you make is a building block for your life. Each time you choose to wake up early to work on a project, resist the lure of social media to focus on meaningful work, or stick to a fitness routine even when it's inconvenient, you're strengthening the foundation on which your future is built. It's not about dramatic, overnight transformations. It's about consistency, those small, disciplined choices repeated day after day. Over time, these choices compound, shaping not just your habits but your character. Take the example of creating a morning routine. Let's say your goal is to write a book, but you're always too busy or distracted to make progress. A disciplined approach might involve waking up 30 minutes earlier each day to write, even if you don't feel like it at first. At first, those 30 minutes might not seem like much, but over the course of a month or a year, they add up to something transformative. More importantly, the act of consistently showing up, even on days when motivation is low, reinforces your commitment to your purpose. Or consider the power of resisting distractions. In today's world, it's all too easy to lose hours scrolling through social media or binge-watching shows, only to wonder where the time went. Practicing discipline in this area might mean setting limits on screen time or creating designated focus hours for uninterrupted work. By prioritizing what's meaningful over what's easy, you reclaim control over your time and direct it toward your highest goals. But discipline isn't just about routines or productivity. It's also about the way we choose to act in our relationships and daily interactions. Marcus Aurelius's advice to avoid what is not right or true reminds us that discipline extends to our words and actions. It's about pausing before speaking or acting to ask, does this align with the person I want to be? It might mean choosing kindness over anger, honesty over convenience, or patience over frustration. These choices, small as they are, create ripple effects that shape our relationships, our communities, and ultimately ourselves. So here's a question for you to consider. What small changes in discipline could bring you closer to your purpose? Maybe it's setting aside time to work on a passion project, replacing a bad habit with a healthier one, or committing to a simple daily practice that aligns with your goals. Whatever it is, remember that discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each step, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you want to live. In practicing self-discipline, we discover a truth that Marcus Aurelius understood so well. Freedom isn't found in doing whatever we want, whenever we want. It's found in choosing what's right, what's true, and what aligns with our purpose, even when it's difficult. Because in the end, the life we want isn't something we stumble upon. It's something we build, one disciplined choice at a time. Have you ever found yourself feeling frustrated with someone? Maybe a coworker who missed a deadline, a friend who let you down, or even yourself for falling short of your own expectations. These moments can leave us feeling impatient, annoyed, or even angry. It's tempting to dwell on what went wrong, to criticize others, or beat ourselves up for not being better. But Marcus Aurelius offers us a different perspective. He writes, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive," highlighting the idea that each day is an opportunity, not for perfection, but for progress, understanding, and compassion. One of the most profound lessons Marcus teaches is the importance of accepting imperfections, both in ourselves and in others. The Stoics understood that life is messy, people are flawed, and mistakes are inevitable. But rather than seeing these imperfections as sources of frustration, we can choose to see them as opportunities to practice patience, forgiveness, and growth. After all, no one, including ourselves, is immune to failure or error. Expecting perfection, whether from others or from yourself, is not only unrealistic, but it's also a recipe for constant disappointment. Think about a time when you were hard on yourself for a mistake. Maybe you missed an important opportunity, broke a promise to yourself, or felt like you failed at something important. It's easy to get caught in a spiral of self-criticism, replaying the moment over and over in your mind and wishing you'd done better. But does beating yourself up change what happened? More often than not, it only drains your energy and prevents you from moving forward. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that purposeful living involves showing ourselves the same compassion we'd offer to a friend. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, focus on the next step you can take to improve, even if it's small. Progress matters far more than perfection. The same principle applies to how we treat others. Imagine someone in your life, a family member, friend, or colleague who has let you down in some way. Maybe they forgot an important commitment or fell short of your expectations. In these moments, we often feel justified in our anger or criticism, but Marcus Aurelius would urge us to pause and reflect. Can we honestly say we've never made similar mistakes? Just as we hope for understanding when we fall short, others deserve the same from us. By choosing compassion over harsh judgment, we strengthen our relationships and create an environment where growth rather than blame becomes the focus. One way to practice this is through forgiveness. For example, if a friend forgets your birthday or makes a hurtful comment in a moment of stress, consider letting it go rather than holding on to resentment. Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring the issue, but it does mean releasing the emotional weight it carries. Or if you find yourself frustrated with a partner or co-worker's repeated habits, like leaving dishes in the sink or being late to meetings, try shifting your focus to gratitude for the things they do well. This doesn't mean ignoring accountability, but it does mean making space for their humanity and self-acceptance. That takes work too. The next time you're tempted to criticize yourself for falling short, take a moment to reflect on your progress instead. Maybe you haven't reached your goal yet, but you're closer than you were yesterday. Maybe you made a mistake, but you learned something valuable from it. Marcus's teachings remind us that a life well lived isn't about flawless execution. It's about perseverance, humility, and the willingness to keep trying even after we stumble. So let me ask you, how can you practice greater acceptance in your life? Perhaps it's by being gentler with yourself when you fail, or by choosing patience the next time someone disappoints you. Or maybe it's as simple as starting each day with gratitude, as Marcus Aurelius suggests, reminding yourself of the privilege it is to be alive, flaws and all. Remember, embracing imperfection is not a sign of weakness, it's a testament to your courage and wisdom. Through compassion for yourself and others, you create space for growth, connection, and a life lived with true purpose. At the end of a long day, have you ever paused to ask yourself, did my actions today reflect my deepest values? It's such a simple question, and yet, how often do we truly take the time to reflect on our actions, choices, and the impact we've had on others? Marcus Aurelius made this kind of reflection a nightly ritual. As he navigated some of the greatest challenges of his life, leading an empire, managing conflicts, confronting personal loss, he would take time at the end of each day to examine his behavior and reconnect with his principles. This practice wasn't about beating himself up for mistakes or indulging in self-congratulation. Instead, it was a way to ensure his actions remained aligned with the purpose and character he sought to cultivate. One of Marcus's most memorable insights captures the heart of this mindset. When you have done good and another has benefited, why do you still look, as fools do, for a third thing besides credit for the good deed? To him, the act of living with integrity and doing what is right was its own reward. Reflection wasn't about seeking validation or reliving past triumphs. It was about refining his understanding of what it means to live a good life. Each night was a chance to examine whether he had lived according to his values, whether he had stayed true to his ideals, and whether his actions brought him closer to the person he aspired to be. This practice of daily reflection remains incredibly relevant today. In the hustle and chaos of modern life, it's all too easy to fall into autopilot, making decisions out of habit or reacting impulsively to the demands of the moment. Reflection offers us the opportunity to step back, take stock, and recalibrate. It allows us to ask, was I kind today? Did I act with integrity? Did I focus on what really matters, or did I allow distractions to pull me away from my purpose? These small acts of introspection can keep us grounded, helping us course correct and move forward with greater clarity. One practical way to incorporate reflection into your routine is through journaling. Just as Marcus Aurelius wrote his thoughts in what we now know as *meditations*, you can use a notebook to process your day and explore your intentions. You might start by asking yourself a few simple questions. What went well today? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? Writing these reflections down not only helps you clarify your thoughts, but also creates a record of your growth over time. Imagine looking back a year from now and seeing how far you've come, how much closer you are to living the life you want. If journaling isn't your style, quiet contemplation can be just as effective. Take 5 or 10 minutes before bed to sit in a calm, uninterrupted space. Close your eyes and think back through your day. Were there moments when you acted out of alignment with your values? Were there moments when you rose above a challenge or made someone else's life better? Embrace both the lessons and the wins, knowing that each offers a way to grow. To make this process even more impactful, consider adopting a single question that you ask yourself every evening. It could be as simple as, did I live today in a way that reflects the person I want to become? By consistently returning to this one question, you create a touchstone, a guidepost that keeps you focused on what truly matters. Over time, this habit can lead to profound changes, helping you refine your purpose and strengthen your commitment to living it out. So, what one question could you ask yourself daily to keep your life on track? Whatever it is, let it serve as a gentle reminder to pause, reflect, and grow. Because when we take the time to evaluate our actions and intentions, we don't just live more intentionally, we become more connected to the values, principles, and purpose that make life meaningful. And as Marcus Aurelius teaches, living aligned with our deepest values is not just a practice, it's a path to inner peace and fulfillment. As we come to the end of this journey through the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, let's take a moment to revisit the lessons he left us. At the heart of his philosophy is the idea that living with purpose begins with alignment, knowing who you are and what you value, and ensuring your actions reflect those principles. It's about approaching each day with intentionality, asking yourself whether your choices are moving you closer to the life you want to live. From there, he teaches us the power of resilience, the ability to turn obstacles into opportunities for growth, to focus on what's within your control and to let go of the rest. And finally, he reminds us that true fulfillment comes from contributing to the greater good, whether through acts of kindness, service, or simply living in a way that uplifts the people and world around us. Taken together, these lessons provide more than just a roadmap for navigating challenges. They form a foundation for a life of meaning, clarity, and strength. Living with purpose doesn't require perfection or drastic changes overnight. It's in the small, consistent efforts, choosing integrity over shortcuts, responding to adversity with courage, and pausing to reflect on how we can better serve others. Purpose is something we build moment by moment through the thoughts we cultivate and the actions we take. And perhaps that's why Marcus's wisdom continues to resonate so deeply today. His reflections remind us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. And it's in those responses that we find not only our purpose but also our freedom. So how do we start applying these lessons? Begin by reflecting on a single area of your life where you feel out of alignment. Maybe it's a habit you've been meaning to break, a relationship that needs mending, or a dream you've put off pursuing. Ask yourself, what small step can I take today to bring myself closer to the person I want to be? Remember, purpose isn't found in grand gestures. It's found in the consistent, deliberate actions we take every day. As Marcus Aurelius so beautifully puts it, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What we focus on, what we think about, and what we act on shapes not only our decisions but the very essence of who we are. With this in mind, I encourage you to take these lessons and think about how they might color your own life. What thoughts, values, or actions will you choose to cultivate in the days ahead? I'd love to hear how these teachings resonate with you. What's one takeaway from Marcus Aurelius or Stoic philosophy that you feel inspired to integrate into your daily life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to continue the conversation with you. And if you found this discussion meaningful, consider subscribing for more explorations into philosophy and how it can guide us to live with greater wisdom and intention. Together, we can keep learning, reflecting, and growing. Thank you for watching, and remember, every moment offers the chance to move closer to the life you want to lead. It's not about waiting for the perfect time, it's about starting